What's up, everyone? All right, so in today's episode, we're going to go over the big move from today, a 169% easy to borrow short squeeze. Now, this is kind of interesting because the stock that made the big move was easy to borrow the whole morning, which meant anyone who wanted to short it could short it without paying any borrowing fees. And usually these stocks that are easy to borrow are a little trickier at the beginning of the move. They kind of pop up, they slam back down, they pop up, they slam back down, and that's exactly what we saw. I took my first trade on it as it was approaching $14, but right at 14, we had this big hidden seller, probably someone who's shorting the stock. Well, the thing ended up going up all the way to nearly $30 a share. So let's start breaking it down. This is the chart. This is the move. I didn't think that we were going to get this big of a move because usually when you have a stock that's easy to borrow, it is a little bit more sluggish. And that was definitely the case. So here's the thing with QMCO. On this stock, we initially had the move that began a couple of days ago. So this is like day 3 of continuation without fresh news. The float's 4 million shares. It's not bad, but it's easy to borrow, which is kind of surprising. So it ended up popping up at about 4 a.m., hits a high here, pulls back, comes back up right here at about, this is like 8:45. And this is where I took my first trade on it. But see, it did not want to break through 14. It tapped that level a couple times, and these are 5-minute candles. So I traded it right in here, made some money, but it didn't want to break 14. At the open, sells off, and then it rips all the way up to 15. But here's the problem, as you may know, with trading right at the open. In those first 5 minutes, we get so much volatility that we can get a 2-point pop up, a 2-point flush, and unfortunately, for a lot of beginner traders, that volatility is too difficult to manage risk on. And in fact, this kind of was the issue this whole morning on QMCO. It was really hard to manage risk on it. So if we look at the 1-minute chart, when we came up to this level right here, we had a high of 1562. We pulled back and I was watching it back over 15. And you know what I said? I said the problem with this stock right now is that if I get in here at 15, my stop definitely, it could easily drop 50 cents to 14.50, which means I really need the potential to get a win up to 15.50, 50 cents a share, just to have a 1-to-1 ratio. 50 cents of risk, 50 cents of profit. And because of the sellers that I was seeing on the level 2, I wasn't sure I was going to get it. Now, as it turns out, it did pop up to 15.62, but then it knifed right back down to 14 and drops all the way to 13.50. And I was like, you know what? I'm glad I didn't take that trade. Whew, this thing is risky. So when it curled back up right here, I kind of felt the same. I was like, I can't take this break of 15.62 here because I could catch a drop all the way back down to this low. Too much risk, not enough reward. Goes up to 17. Again, that's nice. It bounces off this level. Now, this was a nice spot here because see this blue line? That was our previous high, double top at 15.62. We came back down and tested it. We bounced off and popped back up to 17, which was nice, but look at that candle. That's a big topping tail. So it popped up, dropped down, creates a gravestone doji, and then it rallies back up and reclaims the high. So right in there, again, it's choppy, ends up grinding up here. We finally get this topping tail, a rejection candle back down from 20 to 17. So like a 3-point pullback. And then all of a sudden it rips back up. And you know what? I just couldn't get in the groove with this one. So I didn't buy that dip. I was like, I'm just taking too much risk. It ends up going up here to a first halt, opens, dips and rips to a second halt, dips and rips to a third halt, goes up, tops out, sells off. MACD crossover right here. So the only trade that I took on it was earlier this morning, right here under 14 or under, it was under 14 right here. And I was up $1,000 on it, but ended up closing up only 500. So I only made $500 on this stock that went up 169%. But don't worry, there was another stock I traded this morning. It was NMHI. So NMHI was actually my biggest winner this morning, and this one fit a little bit more within kind of my wheelhouse. All right, so NMHI, it's an it's 800,000 share float. It's about a $3 stock, and it had news that came out at 8 a.m. right here, announces $3 million investment in Future Tech Inc. to develop a 50 megawatt Bitcoin mining facility in Ohio. All right, so that's the headline. And because, of course, Bitcoin has been so strong, this headline comes out. And what happens? This thing immediately starts spiking. So when it first pops up, I saw it hit my high day momentum scanner. And I said, all right, let me give this thing a second to see if it's going to hold. So look what happens. It pops up right here first from 240 to 260, dips down, goes up to 285, pulls back. And as it curled back up right here, I added. And so it's right here where I added, and we got this move from 275 to 285 to 3, up to 320, 325. We hit a high right here of 340. We then get another micro pullback right there, and we squeeze up to a high 370, up to 380, and we go all the way up to 420. Now, I added heavy right here on this pullback. I was like, all right, boom, this was awesome. Was up 5,000 on this first trade. It pulls back. I added, goes up to a high right here. I'm now up a total of $10,000. And instead of taking it off the table, I added right here, looking for the move to 450 and up to 5. And look what happened. It knifed back down, and I gave back half my profit. So I'm up 5,000. Here's my P&L. So I'm up $5,393.14 on NMHI. I'm up 500 on QMCO, and then I'm actually red on VSTE. VSTE is the only stock I'm red on, and I was green on it, but gave back that profit. So I peaked today at, technically for a minute, just about $10,000. But I was only there for a second. This dropped back down right away, and so I was up 5,000 on the day, NMHI. And I was like, all right, well, not wonderful, but look, I mean, it's a good start to the day. So then QMCO came up, and that's when I got, the next trade I think was on QMCO. And then I had this trade on VSTE. So VSTE, this one was kind of interesting. VSTE is a solar company, Vast Renewables, made a really big move a couple weeks ago, squeezes up here all the way to 8, then it sells off, bounces up, pulls back, came up today, and I said it has to break over 250 because that's our 200 EMA. We did break over 250, and as it breaks 250, I'm like, all right, well, I mean, okay, let's see what this wants to do. It ends up squeezing up to a high of 3, topping out, selling off. So I was like, nah, no trades. Comes up here, pulls back. Comes up here, pulls back. I got in right here. I bought this pullback right here, but I got filled a little high, like 275. I added, and then I added into the breakout. Ends up going up to a high of $3. I take the profit off the table. I'm up $2,000 on it. Not bad. Puts me at 7,000 on the day. And then I added back, must have been like right here, for the break over 3. And what happens? Stalls out. And, it was funny because I really thought this looked like a decent sort of cup and handle formation for the move higher, but I got stopped out. So I ended up going from up 2,000 to down 2,800 on it, trading with bigger size, trying to catch that move, compensating for the fact that probably not going to get 50 cents or $1 a share on this type of stock. So taking larger position sizes, but that didn't pay off. Ended up, even though it only dropped about 15 cents, taking a couple good size losses on it. So that was VSTE. Now, as QMCO was squeezing up, QMCO, let's see what the chart looks like right now. So this one's actually halted back up right now. Kind of a sharp pullback. We also had some momentum on QMMM. QMMM. This one halted up, then halted down. QUBT, also some momentum on this one. Goes from 7 up to 9. But this one's got a 59 million share float. It's definitely more thickly traded. Not super easy. I also saw we had XCUR. This one popped up, and I just said, guys, I just can't take the risk on it. So I feel like today is a day where, I was set up to kind of have a couple really solid trades, but then when NMHI rolled over and I gave back half my profit, that was kind of my first hit. And then VSTE, I just wasn't able to get in the driver's seat on it. Ended up going red on that. And then at that point, that last trade on VSTE was like right at 9:15. At that point, we were going into the open, and I was like, I don't know, this might be the place to walk. Technically, I gave back more than half my profit. I was up for a second, even though it was only for a second, 10,000. Now I'm, back to 5, got myself back to 7, so that was good, and then back to now up just 3,000, which I know is still a lot, but it's not as high as where I was at. So with this, I'm kind of thinking, all right, I got to be a bit more cautious. And that's why as QMCO is grinding higher, I just kind of kept thinking, if I take a trade on this and I time it wrong, I could easily lose $1 a share and go from green on the day to red. And I don't want to go from being up for a second 10,000 to red on the day. So this was a day where, unfortunately, I was on the offense coming out, had a couple good trades, and then got kind of knocked back and had to go on the defense here. And because I got myself a bit more defensive, I wasn't able to capitalize as much or be as aggressive. I just sort of had to hold down the fort, batten down the hatches, and kind of get through the rest of this day. So, look, some days are like that. And who knows, tomorrow I could sit down and, have that nice first trade, be up $5,000, nice second trade, be up 10 grand, and then a couple more trades. The next thing I know, I'm up $25,000. Or it could be another slow day. The market will give me what it wants to give me. But when it feels like it's sort of pulling teeth to get a decent winner, that's when it's a good idea to be able to kind of see that, recognize that that's the condition of the current market, and not push as hard. I mean, look, some markets are just going to be easier than others. And today didn't happen to be the easiest day. Yeah, we had some moves, but for me, it didn't feel nearly as clean as some of the days last week. And again, not for any particular reason. Mondays can be sometimes slow, and today ends up being a little bit of a slow Monday. So although it doesn't go a long ways towards my optimistic weekly goal, what I know is that if we have a stock that's really clean, is giving us some really nice action, that has a fresh catalyst, that I can do really well on it. So that could happen tomorrow. It could happen Wednesday. It could happen Friday. You just never know. Of course, I'm going to be here every day this week except Thursday because the market's closed. Now, the market's closed because it's Thanksgiving, and Friday is Black Friday. So if you haven't already checked out our Black Friday sales, they are currently live on the website. This is our biggest sale of the year. So whether you join with the Warrior Starter or you go with the Warrior Pro, make sure you check out the special discounts that we've got going on right now. I want to remind you, as always, thank you for tuning in. My results are not typical. Trading is risky. So manage your risk and practice in the simulator before you put real money on the line. And I'll be back at it live streaming tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. for members here at Warrior Trading. All right, I'll see you guys in the morning.